To make this bubu dress, I'll be using a crepe material. This is a light crepe material. You can use Ankara or any other material. So the first thing I did was just to get my baseline, which is my starting line. I ruled with my chalk and ruler the edges out, so I just took out half an inch, then I continued from there. Pardon me, you might be seeing like lines, red lines, blue lines, or any color of lines, just to indicate where I am working with. I placed my tape from my starting point to get my length. That's the length of this bubu, and so I'm just going to rule a straight line across that. We're also going to have our hem allowance after the length. After I got my length, I ruled a line across and then measured 2 inches down for my hem allowance. Then I also ruled a line across. After getting all the lines, coming back to the front, I took the shoulder measurement divided by 2 and then marked a line across it. Then at the center front, I took about 3 inches as the width and also indicated using my chalk to mark a line. I'm starting with the back. This bubu is actually one of the easiest styles to make. On your shoulder line, you're going to come down by 1 inch or half an inch. That's just depending on how you want your shoulder to slope down. After that is done, we want to get our sleeve, and so we're going to start from the shoulder point. That's where you have your slope. And I'm just going to measure about 7 inches. After getting your 7 inches, the next you're going to do is from that point where you got your 7 inches, you're going to mark down 1 inch to connect to your shoulder slope. Using the blue line as an illustration, you could see how I slanted all the way to the neckline. So that's how you're going to slant it from your sleeve point to the neckline. From the point I sloped down, I want to get my sleeve depth, and so I marked about 10 inches. You're also going to add 1 inch extra for hem allowance. So 10 inches plus 1 inch for hem allowance, that's about 11 inches, okay? After that is done, the next thing I want to do now is to get my underbust point, and so on the center front at my starting line, I measured down my underbust point. So you're just going to get your underbust point and mark it on your own fabric and rule a line across like so. After that is done, the next thing I did was I got my hip measurement divided by 4, and so from that underbust I measured it like so, and then I added extra 3 inches. Remember, this is a bubu, and so you do not want a situation whereby it's too tight. It's a free dress, and so you're going to have extra. So it just depends on you how big you want it to be. After you've gotten that, now you want to create like an armhole illusion from that your underbust, or from your sleeve point to your underbust, okay? And so you're just going to curve it the way you see me do. Once that is done, the next thing I did was to continue with my measurement, and so I started to take my hip measurement divided by 4 plus my 3 inches that I added to make my bubu look like a bubu. And so I did that all through to the length of the dress and just connected with a straight ruler like so. The next thing I did was on my neckline, I came down by 1 inch, and then using my curved ruler, I just connected from the neck width to the neck depth, which is 1 inch like so. Once that is done, the next thing we're going to do now is to cut out from the main fabric. Once I was done cutting out, the next thing I did was to fold my fabric again to get my front, and so I just placed my back cut out to get the front, okay? So what I'll be doing here is like a copy and paste. I'm just going to cut out the same thing I have at the back. After that is done, I'm going to pick one of the cutouts to serve as my front, and so from the neckline, I'm going to mark 3 inches all the way down to the length of this bubu. Using my straight ruler, I'm going to mark out all the points down to the length from the neckline, and so I'm just going to take my scissors and cut out like so. Once I'm done cutting, I'm going to keep out the larger part aside, and so I'm going to get black plain fabric. This will serve as a replacement of our 3 inches that we removed. So don't forget that the 3 inches that we cut out was on fold, and so when you open it, it's going to be about 6 inches. Now you get your black plain fabric or any color of your choice. You're going to place it on fold as you see me doing. The next you're going to do is to take your original cutout. Remember, when we placed it on fold and cutout was 3 inches, so but when you open it to be around 6 inches. So we're going to leave it open and place it the way you see me doing on the black fabric, like so. Before cutting out, I left about 1 inch on the folded part of my black plain fabric. This will serve as seam allowance. Once you get your 1 inch, you can now cut out. As soon as we're done cutting, I removed the initial cutout that we have already replaced with our plain black fabric. So I just cut open the folded part of this plain fabric to make it 2 pieces. Once I'm done cutting open, the next thing I'll do is on one side of the edge of the fabric, I'm going to just run a stitch across like so. Moving on to the next thing on the table, before we do anything, let's just assume that this cord charger is my tape roll, and so I want to get my round neck measurement. I'm just going to place this cord. Let's assume it's our tape roll. I'm going to place it round my neck to get my round neck measurement, okay? The reason why I'm using the cord charger is because when I took my round neck measurement with my tape rule, I did not record it, and so I'm just showing you for illustration. So my round neck measurement, I got 24 and I divided that 24 by 2, which is about 12 inches. And that's the 12 inches I'll be marking down from the place I ran a stitch from. I'm just going to roll a straight line across like so. The next thing I did was from the 12 inches that I marked down, I'm going to place my tape from that line, and I'm going to also mark down again about 33 to 34 inches. Once that is done, the next thing I did was to get the midpoint of the width of our fabric. Remember, when we're cutting this fabric, we did 6 inches plus 1, that's about 7 inches, and so we're just going to get the midpoint. The way I got mine accurately is to place my tape rule from the starting to the end of the width of the fabric, and then I just folded my tape, that's dividing it into 2 to get the exact midpoint. All right, I just continue to mark it and form a straight line down all the way from the 12 inches that I marked down to the 34 inches. Once that is done, you're going to take this to your machine and run a straight stitch from the 12 inches down to the 34 inches, ensuring that the 2 pieces of the plain black fabric are placed together. So you don't want to run a straight stitch singly. After that is done, this is what your piece is going to look like. You're going to open it up. You can see that it's already forming the neckline. It's already giving that bubu vibes. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get our back piece and our front pieces, and we're going to place it this way: shoulder facing shoulder, front side to front side. So the way you're going to get this right is through your shoulder slanting. If you had not slanted it, it might be really very difficult to be able to place your shoulder and shoulder together. Okay, so we're going to run a straight stitch joining these shoulders together. After joining it, this is what we have here. So the next thing I want to do now is to get our midpoint on our back neckline, and so once I get it, I'm just going to notch it. This will enable us to join our plain fabric properly. So the next thing to do now is to get our plain fabric on our joint line. On the plain fabric, we're going to attach it to the back neckline that we have notched. That's the midpoint of our back neckline. You want to use your pins now. So you'll be starting with the midpoint of your back neckline, and so you're just going to pin all through from the neckline down to the length on both sides of our center front. You must start pinning from the midpoint of your back neckline. If you do not do this, you're going to make mistakes while sewing. So you want to ensure that you start pinning from your back neckline. Okay, so you continue pinning from the midpoint to the right side, or from the midpoint to the left side down to your length. I'm going to continue pinning off the camera, and after I was done pinning, I ran a stitch across all this point. So when you want to sew, you're going to start sewing also from the midpoint to the length. This is what the neckline or the midpoint of our center front looks like now. You can see that it's already giving the bubu vibe, or am I wrong? The next thing we're going to do now is to attach our plain black fabric to the sleeve. So we want to make the length its accurate measurement. Okay, so remember initially we did 7 from the shoulder point to the length of the sleeve, and so we're going to add 3 inches now to make it about 10 inches. So that's actually the length of the sleeve that we agreed to make for my client. When you want to cut out your strap to attach to your sleeve, remember we're placing it on fold because we're not going to hem the tip of the sleeve. Okay, so for me, I do not want to hem it because it just makes the work neat. It was already getting dark and I could no longer film because the quality of the video would no longer be bright enough for you to see what I was doing. So after attaching the sleeves, I joined the bodies together. After joining the bodies, I hemmed the length of the bubu, and basically that's it. I also added pockets to the bubu. That's what my client wants. You can decide not to add pockets. Thank you so much for watching. This is everything about this bubu. I hope you enjoyed it. Do not forget to subscribe, like, share, and leave a comment. If you'd like to see more sewing tutorials, subscribe, turn on notification bell. Until we see you in our next video. Bye.